Yeah, so my name is Meredith Hill, and I live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I kind of got into ultras through actually what we're going to talk about today, through the Huron 100, this race. I've been a runner for a long time, through high school, and it's always been intermittent, in and out of my life as I've explored other opportunities, college and med school and kids and all that. But a few years ago, a friend of mine reached out to me and asked if I would be the medical director for this race that he's creating. And, kind of through learning about ultra marathons and, if I was going to be the medical director of something like this, I was like, okay, I need to learn a little bit more about it. So I dove deep, and that's actually also how I found your podcast. And then I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. Like I would love to do that someday. And so that's kind of how I got into ultra marathons.
And so what races have you done?
So I've done, 350Ks, and I've done the Ragged 75. So my first 50K was in 2024. I did the Dances with Dirt 50K. It's a local race here in the Ann Arbor, Michigan area. And then last year I did another 50K out in Wisconsin. It was the Devil's Lake 50K. And then another 50K I did was not an official sanctioned 50K, but I was pacing my cousin through the night of his 100K. And so I ended up doing 50K through that. And then I did the Ragged 75, which was more like 84 miles in, but who's counting?
But who's counting?
In New Hampshire.
Yeah. Yeah, that was super fun. You and I actually got to run a little bit together during that, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So you kind of glazed over the fact that like you went to med school. glazed right over that.
It's a small portion of my life.
Small portion of your life that you are a doctor. So to just like for context, tell people a little bit about like your work as a doctor, because I think it definitely helps for people to understand like that this is, kind of dovetails very nicely the fact that you're going to be the medical director for this race, but between that and what you do on a day-to-day basis, or I should say nightly basis. Are you still working nights?
No, I work mostly days, afternoons, evenings, that sort of thing. So I'm an emergency medicine physician, and I graduated in residency around 2012. So I've been doing that for a little while. And I also have an administrative role. So I'm a regional medical director for our group. So my area is the Midwest. So I do some traveling with that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. One of my favorite questions when we were running Ragged was like, all right, Meredith, tell me what's the craziest thing you've seen as a, as an ER doctor? Like, what's the wildest thing, what's this, what's that? And you did not disappoint. You had a lot of really good stories.
Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff you just can't make it up. You can't make it up.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure you were probably like, not dumbing it down, but you were making it like a little more palatable, I'm sure.
Yeah. They don't want all the details all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, so your friend just like was randomly approached you and said, hey, can you be the medical director for this race that I'm putting together?
Yeah. So I met him and his wife because our kids actually went to school together. And then there were a couple of years, so their kids then didn't go to the school anymore. So we kind of lost touch a little bit. And then we reconnected over Strava. And I was kind of seeing like he was doing something on Strava. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what he's up to. And I kind of figured out that he was really trying to put together a race course in our area. And he's an emergency physician for vets, or as a vet for animals, and, I'm for humans. So he asked, hey, would you be willing to kind of start this adventure with us? And so I got really excited about it. I thought it was such a cool thing that he was doing. It was kind of his COVID project, like doing that throughout COVID, and piecing together a lot of local runners' favorite trails all through Southeast Michigan and making a point-to-point race all along the Huron River watershed.
Ooh, that's super cool.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I mean, it combined, two things that I loved. Like I love trail running and I love these trails and I love the Huron River and medicine. So it just
Yeah.
seemed to fit.
Well, you mentioned it that it's not along, it's a point to point and it's along this like watershed, but talk a little bit about the race if you can, just for people who might be this is the first time that they're hearing about it. Like how this is not the first year for the race though.
Correct. Yeah. It's the third official year. We had sort of a pioneer year where we had 20 runners just kind of meet up at the start line and run through the course. And we had sort of makeshift aid stations along the way that we would meet them and just kind of see the feasibility of something like this. It may or may not have involved hiding from like Metro Park police late at night when you weren't supposed to be in the parks. Like, so there was definitely some adventure that year. We may have bailed somebody out of the Huron River. Yeah, it was somebody may or may not have lost their phone that year in the river, but yeah, it was a blast. So that was the first year, and then the last 3 years have been official and sanctioned. Yeah, so it's been a really exciting thing to be a part of from the beginning. So it's called the Huron 100. It's a 100-mile course, point to point. There's also a 50-mile course, and it's basically the first half of the 100-mile course. Pretty runnable terrain. The beginning of it is a little bit sandy, and then the rest of it's just kind of like a lot of it's single track, mountain bike trail, running trail, things like that. um yeah, really runnable, really beautiful. Yeah, I highly recommend.
And it looks like you've got quite a few aid stations. I'm just looking at the website right now. It looks like you have quite a few aid stations, so it's not really like anybody has to go super far, whether you're doing the 50 mile or the 100 mile. I think, like quick glance here, it looks like maybe 9 miles. On the 100 mile course is the longest distance between aid stations, which is
Yeah,
that's great.
yeah, there's like 15 aid stations for the 100, and I think like 8 or 9 for the 50. 8 for the
Yeah.
50. Two of them are just water stops.
Hmm.
But yeah, and really good access to your crew and drop bags and
Hmm.
all of that.
Hmm. That's
Yeah, really
amazing.
our goal is to make it super runner friendly and crew friendly. Like we're all out there because we want people to be successful and to have a great time.
Yeah. So it's still like a baby race in the sense that it's been around for just a handful of years. Can you talk a little bit about like number of people, breakdown of people, guys and girls, and like, just overall? Because, some people might be looking for a bigger race. Some people might be looking for a smaller race to sort of help to kind of, distinguish this one. Give us a little bit of an idea of what we're looking at.
Yeah, so it's grown every year. Like last year, we had 158 people that participated between the 100 and the 50, and a pretty good finisher rate. There was like 68% of people finished, um, so not too bad. Last year, 43 people attempted their first 100 miles. So 43 of those people were, new to it, which I thought was really great. And 25 of them were successful. That was really awesome. We had people last year from 20 different states, although the majority of them were from Michigan. So like 70% were from Michigan. I don't have the breakdown handy on men and women. I don't have that breakdown.
That's fine. I was just
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. Yeah.
So of those, and maybe you don't even really have this either, but this is always very like this is a very me question, a very coach question. So you mentioned that there were like roughly 45, 48 people who attempted their first 100 miler and 25 finished. Do you know, as the medical director, like was that mostly medical DNFs, or people just did they miss a time cutoff?
There were some time cutoffs, but not too many. Most people pulled themselves from the race. maybe they just weren't feeling well, gut issues, that sort of thing. We didn't have to tell somebody, like tap somebody on the shoulder and be like, okay, you're done. Like people were really quite responsible about it. I mean, we did have to go get somebody in the woods. Other than that, yeah, I mean, but he knew his day was done at that point. So, you know,
And just for context, this race happens in June, right? So a little bit earlier in the year.
yeah, June 6th
What's
is where it'll
what's the
be.
weather like in Michigan in June?
Yeah, it can be variable. Last year was a little bit warmer of a year. I think the highs were probably in the upper 70s. So not like hot, hot, And then the year before that, it rained throughout the middle of the night and it was cold. So it's pretty variable. But generally in the beginning of June, it's pretty pleasant. Like you can probably expect upper 60s, low 70s, but, it can be variable.
Hmm. That's pretty decent.
Yeah, it is pretty decent. It's good
Not
weather
too
at that
hot,
time of
not
year.
too cold.
Yeah. It's good.
Well, you're here because we wanted to kind of specifically talk about something pretty cool that you guys are doing with regards to this race. Um, and that is that you guys are offering a scholarship, right? A scholarship for anyone who is, well, largely for people who maybe are new to ultras, but like specifically on this podcast, because obviously our goal here is to get more women into this sport. So how did this come about? How did you guys decide that you were going to offer a scholarship, or multiple scholarships, I should say?
Yeah. So I think really one of our main goals as an organization is to make sure that everybody feels welcome. We really want to foster a sense of belonging, that everybody deserves to be at that start line. And um, we didn't want anything to be a barrier to people. And this was actually the first year that we were really able to kind of put this into place, put the scholarship program into place. So we really wanted to promote, people who are typically underrepresented in the trail running community. So women, certainly we're still one of those underrepresented people.
Yep, yep.
People of color, LGBTQIA plus individuals, anybody with financial hardships, anything that would prevent someone or present a barrier to getting to that start line. We just kind of wanted to, help bring them, to the scene. We're also offering like a shuttle service, like, they could have the shuttle service for free. And we're working on maybe like some lodging to really offset any costs so that that part is not a burden or a concern for people. We've been to like a Trail Sisters approved race, try and follow all those guidelines. Yeah, and it's such a great community that we want everybody to feel like they belong and that they're welcome.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, how many scholarships do you guys anticipate handing out for the 2026 race?
So I think we're thinking about anywhere from like 40 to 50 potentially. So pretty significant amount. Yeah, that's our hope.
And that right now covers just the cost of entry to the race.
Yeah, it covers the cost of entry to the race. Also, if you want the shuttle, it covers that. And then, potentially if you need assistance with lodging, we're working on getting lodging right there at like the finish line area. So
Cool.
there's some potential there. We're still working that part out.
Awesome. How do people go about applying?
So on the website is thehuron100.com. Along the top, there's a little tab that says Trailblazers. And if you click on that, then it kind of talks about the whole scholarship, the mission, what it's all about. And there's a link there to fill out a form. And if, those who are listening to your podcast can click on your name as how they heard about it. And all entries are anonymous. Like, we're not going to announce or share with anybody, that you were selected. People certainly have the option of saying, that's fine, tell my story. I'm okay with that. Um, but in general, the only people that are going to be seeing the applications are those on the board.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I was scrolling through the application right now. It's just all the basic stuff just to gather up everybody's information so that they can pull together who's a good fit for that scholarship. So it's nothing. You don't have to like there's no essay.
No, no, I mean, it can, people have put in as few as, just a couple of sentences,
Yeah.
about their situation. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we're not going to be verifying anything, requesting your taxes from the previous years or anything crazy like that.
It's
It's
on the
just,
honor system.
yeah, yeah. It's just on the honor system. And yeah, we just want you to come.
Yeah, that's super cool. Do you have a favorite section of this course? I was looking at the course map, like I mentioned earlier, and it looks pretty awesome. But like there's some like there's some decent climbs in there. Is there a particular section that you really like?
Yeah, I like the part that goes through Pinckney, the Pinckney area.
Oh,
The Potawatomi Trail is a trail that I love to run on, so that's one of my favorite sections. I also like the area that goes through the Brighton State Recreation Area. Those are, two of my favorite sections. They're like single track, some roots and some rocks, but it's not like super technical. It's very runnable, but it's interesting because you have like the ups and the downs, and yeah, keeps you
that,
awake.
yeah. Well, I like that. I like that you guys have so much information on the website. It's you have been around long enough to hear my rants about websites for races and having minimal information versus a lot of information, and especially as a race that's trying to attract more people to the sport, you're really doing a great job of like painting the picture for people about the who, what, where, when, how, all the things, so that nobody really has to guess like, what does this course look like, where are the aid stations, where can I have drop bags, can I have pacers, what are the cutoffs. Like, it's very cut and dry in a good way. You guys make all that information readily available. It's not hard. One of my other things is like, oh, it's there on the website, but it's so buried that you it takes you like 20 minutes to click through a bunch of links to find what you need in order to, make a decision about whether or not this is a good race for you, the individual, right? And some people are looking for races that are, relatively flat and, are a specific format. Or some people are searching out races that have, more interesting features like you're talking about, more elevation, more, this, more that. And so to have all of that information right there smack dab in front of you helps people make decisions pretty quickly. And I also think, from a medical perspective, it helps you guys out on the back end, right? Because if people are very clearly aware of what they're signing up for, it could potentially kind of save you guys from having to, like extract people or deal with medical issues that may have arise because, they're not used to this terrain. They're not used to elevation. They're not used to this, that, or the other. So I feel like more information is always good for everybody.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I think Lauren Hughes, who is Dan Hughes is the race director. Lauren is his partner, his wife. She has done an amazing job putting those packets together. I think the crew pack, like there's a separate packet for crew as well. So, like if you're crewing, it gives you, all the turn by turn instructions, directions, where to go, even like, where to stay, what to do during the day, places to eat, like, yeah, like it's all
hmm
in there. So it is a very good packet for both the runner and crew. Yeah. So
And I just noticed you guys have live tracking too, so people will be able to track their athletes as they go.
yeah, so this year is going to be the first year that we do that, which is fantastic. And I'm really excited about that also from a medical standpoint, because like last year, for example, the guy the guy that we got from the woods, he called me because my phone number is on everybody's bibs.
Yep.
Like if you run into a medical problem, call my number. And I was like, just don't put my phone number in like any of these outhouse bathrooms, please. But like, um, you know, so this guy called me and I was like, okay, well, we'll come get you. Where are you? And he's like, well, I'm sitting on a stump in the woods. And I was like, okay, that's pretty accurate, but we're going to need a little more information. So
Yeah.
like I had to kind of walk him through like, drop me a pin and, and then
Hmm.
we'll come get you.
Hmm.
So, from that standpoint, that worried me a little bit, just like if there is an area where there's not really great reception. So I'm super excited, not only just, for friends and family to track runners, but also for safety that we can
Yes.
now know exactly where people are. So we're very excited about that. And we have a live stream too. Did you
Ooh,
know that?
cool. I well,
Yep.
I read that, but I didn't want to out it if it wasn't
Yeah.
if it wasn't fully solidified.
Yeah. Yeah. We've had a live stream the past couple of years, which just kind of makes it more fun for people to follow along.
I love what this says. Well, it's sort of under the FAQ. It's like, is there live tracking? And it says live tracking and streaming is a monumental part of the Huron 100 vision. Check out last year's footage here with a little asterisk. Our media team is everywhere. You cannot escape them, which is so good.
Yeah, that's true.
um, I am really curious, how far off course was the guy you had to go rescue?
He was on course.
Okay.
It was, we only really had to, like, from the closest entry point, like where we could park a car, like a little dirt road that went by, we only had to go in maybe a quarter of a mile or quarter or half a mile, something like that. So it was nothing. I mean, there were three of us though, like we did kind of need to help him,
Yeah.
um, but it was fine.
I feel like maybe we could do a whole separate podcast episode on like funny medical situate, like, behind the scenes of, because I think that's the part, that a lot of people don't know about. I mean, I think most people who have been to races understand that it's not just like year number one, like your project year where you were just trying to figure it out. And it was very grassroots and you guys were bushwhacking and, hiding from authorities and whatever. Like, it's not that. So but I also don't think that people necessarily understand just how much time and effort and how much of a labor of love it is for a lot of these race directors who, you know, go the extra mile to like create the course for, like you were, I'm going to use the term lovingly, stalking your friend, like saying like, oh, he was, working on this course for a long, long time before he ever put it out there. And it's obviously, like I said, a labor of love. And these people go through the effort of plotting the best course and, gathering friends and finding medical directors and, going through all this stuff. And it's not just as easy as throwing a tent up and saying, hey, everybody, let's go run around in the woods. Like there's a lot of logistical things, legal things, medical things that go
Mhm.
into it. So I'm sure there's probably there's probably lots of good
Yeah.
stories and behind the scenes stuff that emerges from every race that you guys do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, and Dan is so passionate about this. I mean, we start working on it pretty much right after we finish, the year before. And the best part is it's such a great running community and people are so behind this race and they just love the fact that Dan was able to create something so cool in Southeast Michigan. That we have such dedicated like volunteers, like people are so excited to help out. Yeah, it's really been nice to be part of the community.
One of the things that we talk about in the She Runs Ultras group a lot is, if you're thinking about doing a race, going and volunteering either at that race or an ultra, just in general, is a great way to sort of like dip your toe in there and get a sense for what you're getting yourself into. And I'm assuming you guys are always looking for volunteers. Is there a way for somebody who is interested in maybe volunteering, or, can they reach out to you? Is there a spot on the website for them to reach out to?
Yeah, there's a spot on the website if people are interested in volunteering. They can definitely sign up. They can always
Awesome.
reach out to me too. Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of in charge of the recruiting all the medical people. Yeah. So last year it was awesome. We had like 15 people on our medical team. We have physical therapists, residents, nurses, like, yeah, it's great. Yeah,
Did
it's
you
a really
source them all
well,
from the hospital where you work?
most of them, a lot of them, yeah. The residents, yeah, they were fantastic. They were a lot more interested than I thought they would be. Yeah, so it was great. It was really great.
That's cool. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I haven't talked to you in a little while. What are you doing this year? Are you doing any races? Are you doing anything fun?
Yeah, so you're gonna out me here, huh? I haven't even.
You can cut this part. I'm just curious, but it sounds
Yes,
like
no, no,
something.
it's
It
okay.
sounds like something good since you're kind of like,
Yes, I'm good.
okay,
I'm good putting it out there.
okay.
I'm I'm gonna run a 200-mile race called the Sioux 200,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's in Ontario, Canada. Just because I'm in Michigan, so it's just across the border from the Upper Peninsula. And yeah, I've already signed up for it. I've committed, so it's on my race calendar.
When is it again?
It is in like it's like in September, like mid-September. Yeah. So I'm really excited about it. And partly I believed that I could do this by listening to people on your podcast and, Sarah and other people who have done 200-mile races and, not necessarily feeling like I have to do 100 before I do this, like, yeah, I'm just jumping right to it. I might end up doing a 100-miler at some point throughout the year. I don't know, as part of training, but that 200-mile race is my big race. I'm
I
going
love
for it.
it. I love it.
Why
What
not?
made you choose that one?
So that one, I heard about this past year. Just actually, I heard about it through the website of a place where we go cross country skiing as a family every year. So, Stokely Creek Lodge is an amazing, magical place to go cross country skiing. And then on their Instagram or Facebook, I saw them post that they were hosting like a checkpoint for this race. And I was like, oh, and it was their first year doing the race last year. And so, I was excited because it's a place that's super special to me. And then I
Mm-hmm.
just felt really passionate about it and called to to do it. Yeah. So I took off this season. I also do biathlon. So I took off this winter season from biathlon so that I could focus a little bit more on this, training for the 200.
Mm-hmm. What do you think your biggest obstacle, like it's clearly going to change over time. It's early, right? It's January. Your race isn't until September, but thinking through the process, what do you think your biggest obstacle is going to be when it comes to completing 200 miles?
I think for me is probably going to be the elevation gain, just because where I live, it's so flat. Trying to find, really, there are not really any sustained hills or mountains anywhere around here. Like if you want to do hill repeats and you're going to be on like a fairly small hill doing a lot of them to get anything. And I think, that was a big learning point when I did ragged. Underestimated really how those climbs were going to feel, like
Hmm.
20% grades and,
Hmm.
just like sustained for a mile or more. Um, you know, I mean, I did it. It didn't feel great, but I did it. And so that was kind of, yeah, that was like a wake up call. Like, okay, yeah, I'm going to need to definitely make sure that I'm very intentional about elevation, goals, get on that stair stepper, get on, incline treadmill. And just, I need to be more intentional about that this time and being really good about my strength training so
Mm.
that I'm strong enough to do it. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think I have the mindset for it. Like I can grit pretty much anything out. um, so I think I have a good mindset. I don't think that'll be an issue. Um, yeah, I also have some work to do on nutrition and, you know, and making sure that I can get in enough calories and get in enough liquids, hydration.
Yep.
So those are things
Yep.
that I'm working on.
Love it. Well, you'll have to
Mhm.
keep me posted on it. I'm super excited. Full disclosure, I actually did know you were doing that, but
Did not.
I kind of wanted, I kind of wanted to put it out there because I think it is super cool, right? I think obviously you have been bitten by the bug in all the best ways possible, right? You're part of the medical team for the Huron 100. You've done a bunch of races. I will always maintain that doing a race like Ragged is a great way to see if you want to go longer because it's not the compressed like 30-hour 100-mile time frame. Sustained efforts over a couple of days. Obviously, you get a little bit more sleep at Ragged than you will at a 200-mile race. But if you can get up, 3 days back to back to back and do what you did there, you really start to get a good taste for, okay, could I do another day or two of this? And could I also extend the hours a little bit? Could I shorten up the sleep intervals a little bit? And you do really start to get that, like, meh, it's not really as far off as I thought it was, and that's what I love about the 200s. It's like, yeah, it is a big scary goal, but when you really start to break it down and in the way that you just did in terms of strength training and elevation and nutrition and all that stuff, it's all the same stuff that you work on at the 50K distance, but now we just have to turn up the volume, so to speak, and really hone in on all those details and make sure that they're very dialed in and you've got really solid strategies and backup plans and backups to the backups and so on and so forth. And it's really not, this is going to sound ridiculous, but like, it's really not that terrible. It's like
I'm
not
glad to hear
that
you say
hard,
it.
but like it's hard, but it comes down to systems and processes and your training, obviously. So I'm super psyched for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like it seems like a lot of the things that I do are things that, for some reason, I just feel passionate about or I feel drawn to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I fully feel like, why not? Why not give it a try? If I don't succeed, then okay, but at least I'm going to try. And I love the journey. I love the training. I love just, um, yeah, I love, meeting people along the way, learning new things. And so, if nothing else, the journey is going to be awesome.
I would say the same is true too of anyone who's like listening to us talk about 100-miler or a 50-miler right here on 100 and saying like, "Ooh, I don't know if I can do it." I think this is probably, a great opportunity not only to apply for the scholarship, but to just do what you exactly said, which is like just go for it, right? Put yourself out there, trust in the process, work on those systems and those processes, do the training, do your strength, do all your stuff, right? And then just go and put it all out there and see what you can do. And if you fall short, then you've got a lot of information to work with to be able to go at it again, tweak that system, tweak those processes to be able to go at it again and maybe be successful the next time. So I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I see that you guys have an Instagram page. Is there a Facebook group or anything like that? Is the best place for people to follow the Huron on social media? Is Instagram the place?
Both. We have Instagram and Facebook.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So you
Okay.
can follow them both. Yeah.
And I think this is just the Huron 100.
Correct.
Perfect. Do
Yeah.
you feel like is there any other aspects of the race or anything that we didn't touch on that you want to be sure that people know about?
Well, I don't know if I specifically mentioned, but we are a nonprofit, so we're a
Mm.
501c3, and we give back to the Huron River watershed. So we donate proceeds to that. So, we're really proud of, really wanting to minimize environmental impact. So, like last year, we had people like sorting through the garbage, to really make sure that we had everything, compostable, recyclable, and landfills. And I think we only ended up having maybe like 15 or 16% of stuff going in an actual landfill. All the
Oh, that's
rest
cool.
was, yeah. So I think those are things that we're proud of too. Oh, and the merch. The merch is really great. If you
Ooh.
like merch,
Ooh.
we have
Talk
some
talk
really
about
great stuff.
merch because people do like merch. Tell us
Yeah.
about it.
So we have a merch store and you're given like an allowance. So you basically get to, spend, your money on whatever in the store you want to spend it on. And you can buy more. Or if you don't want any merch, then you can just donate it, and that money will go to, the Huron River watershed.
Very
So,
cool.
but yeah, the merch. I mean, we have these beautiful um, um, mugs that are made just for the race.
Cool.
We've got, great hats and, other things. But yeah, people love the merch.
I like that idea though, that like you get to choose, because some races they make great merch, some races not so much, right? But I like that idea that you get to go in there and choose what you want, because if you have 1,000 t-shirts and you don't want another t-shirt, but you really want a hat, or vice versa, or if there's some other cool thing like a mug or whatever, that you get to decide what it is that you want. And then if you don't want it, great. You can just, like you said, donate it. I love that. That's such a great model.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, also like our aid stations are a blast, you know, volunteers are great. If you're thinking about doing 100 or a 50, this is the one to do. Come on out.
Well, I'm going to definitely encourage people to go check out all the things, the website, social media, because you guys do a great job of putting out images and information, and, keeping people updated on what's going on. Links are easy to find, information on the course is easy to find. So it's really one of those races that you can pretty quickly decide, like, are you in or are you out, And I think it's a really great setup. I love what you guys are doing with the scholarships, and really just trying to get more people, and specifically more women out there, on people in general, but obviously women out there on the trails, and making it so easy to do a longer distance race like this with pacers and drop bags and aid stations and all that stuff. It just makes it that much easier for people to see themselves doing it when the structure and the system is in place. So that's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, when you finish your 200 miler, you're going to have to come back and talk to us about that, because, or, after the Huron 100, you want to come back and do a recap and tell us all the funny behind the scenes stories. You can certainly do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm excited about the 200 miler. So, yeah, maybe we can chat then.
Well, thank you so much, Meredith, for coming on and telling us all about the Huron 100. And I will definitely put the link directly to the webpage, but also to the scholarship, or the scholarship itself, so that people don't have to go hunting around for it. And they should definitely check you guys out on all the social platforms and follow and share. And hopefully we'll get a bunch of people not only signing up for the scholarship, but also boosting numbers for the race this year. This is amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And thank you for doing everything that you're doing to promote women in this space. And I think it's really powerful, and I think it's awesome. So thank you for being out there for all of us.
It is my pleasure. I enjoy it thoroughly. So it's so much fun. It is really a lot of fun to be able to chat with, women like yourself, and really all of my guests have been amazing. All are doing, amazing races, and really working on their own big scary goals, and doing their own work of promoting the sport and just sharing it with their friends and their family. It's just, it's like, it just kind of tends to, find its way to the people who need to hear it or want to hear it the most, which is the most fun. And I really love getting messages from people who say, "Oh, I listened to your episode with Meredith, or with, Jess from Moab 240, or, gosh, even some people like way back in the day, and they were like, that was exactly what I needed to hear. I signed up for my race. I did it. I did this." And it's like, it's super cool. It's super cool to be able to like kind of be a vehicle to share some of those stories, which is amazing. So can't wait to
Absolutely.
share